Hello there, it's David Taylor or Mr. Pelargonium back with another one of my video blogs for the Pelargonium and Geranium Society. Now today I'm actually going to talk about a couple of issues. I've firstly got a plant here from my cloakroom which has been neglected quite badly. One of the problems with looking after a lot of plants in a greenhouse is that you can sometimes forget about plants that are actually indoors, and this one is on the windowsill of our cloakroom downstairs. Been thoroughly neglected. It needs a bit of a tidy up and a clip back and a slight repotting, and I'm going to do that today. I'm also going to look at root cuttings. I've got a lot of root cuttings sprouting from a couple of my standards, and I'm going to show you firstly why that happens, and just explain how easy it is to take root cuttings and just strip them from the base of the plant, and we'll see how we go from there. Now this plant is a very popular scented leaf variety called Lillian Pottinger, and as I say, this is on the windowsill of our cloakroom. It's run to flower a bit, but it needs basically cutting down deep to be able to throw out a little bit more base shoot and to sort of rebush itself up, because it's grown sort of over the winter when the light is very low. It's on a sort of southwest facing window, so it's easy enough to recover. I'll just tap it out of this pot, replace some of the compost, and it'll be easily ready to go. And it is something that you can easily do if you've got plants that are relatively neglected. Now the one thing is that this plant is very dry. I would never attempt to do this when the plant is very wet or just been freshly watered, but it shows you the resilience of pelargoniums. The root ball is basically very dry, and I'm going to slice off. The wounds will heal very quickly. I'm just going to repot, and then I'll just give a very slight watering. Don't want a lot of watering on a freshly cut back plant, but that'll rejuvenate it, and I'll perhaps show you in a few weeks when it's growing back what we'll do. Right, now the very first thing I'm going to do is get a very sharp knife and give the knife a clean with my tissue that's all coated in J's fluid. Always be very clean with any knives that you're going to use for cutting pelargoniums down. And I'll just bash through this and show you in a moment what it'll look like when it's done. There's a bit of dead wood on it that I have been cutting out. But if you go in deep here, and I hope you're going to be able to focus in on that, but down round here on this stem, I'll just forward that in. Right, down round here, you may be able to see on this stem here, if I just pull out and it can focus, that there's a lot of little green shoots, and they will all make new stems. And that's the great thing about pelargoniums. They usually burst from the base, and they're very good plants for coming back after a good hard cut back. Now, the key thing is, realistically, you need to be very careful about overwatering. So you don't want to be overwatering that now. What I'm going to actually do, get my bucket, just take it out. We've got the label. I'm just going to ease this out. There's a lot of, that's what you call a tight root ball. There's the root ball. Very, very tight. That's what you call a tight root ball. I don't think it's been repotted in sort of over a year really. So all I'm going to do is get rid of all the mess on the top. I'll also probably centre it up a bit. It's not very centred, this plant. It's as dry as a bone, but all that root is pretty healthy. It's in a good mix. I'm going to take the little, because it was in a clay pot, I'm actually going to remove the little base holder that stops all the compost from draining out of a clay pot. I'm just going to loosen this compost. There we are. That's fine. A little bit of fresh compost, give it a little bit of help. It doesn't need a lot. This there. There we are, Lillian Pottinger. That's not doing too bad. That'll go back in the cloakroom. What I'll actually do, I will now put it in a saucer of water for about 10 seconds only. Don't want any overwatering of this now, because it's going to stay very dry. It's got a few leaves to keep it alive. I'll put it back in its same location. A little bit of water in a saucer. That'll soak up, and these little side shoots all at the base here will begin to break out. And I'll show you it in a few weeks' time when it begins to grow again.